Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, with your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Saturday. You know what that means. It means we are going to be giving our thoughts on last night's edition of Friday Night SmackDown. And of course, then tonight it is AEW Collision. So we've got a lot to talk about here on the show today. But I'm going to start things off. I'm not too happy today, right? Because I turned on SmackDown last night and I witnessed Pretty Deadly getting a well-deserved manicure, right? After, Elton Prince has miraculously, been able to walk again after his separated shoulder. I mean, it's an absolute miracle. I said it last week. He's a hero in my eyes following that, right? But after #EltonStrong recovered from that injury and got a squeaky clean victory last week on SmackDown against the Brawling Brutes, well, the Brawling Brutes attacked them. They attacked them in public while they were getting a manicure. How dare they? It's absolutely outrageous, right? Nick Aldis, the new SmackDown GM, he should have been in there right away, and he should have fired the Brawling Brutes for those actions. It's absolutely outrageous. So I was just fuming from then on watching SmackDown, right? And then today, I watched the best team in the world, Arsenal, here they are, play football, right? And it just finished moments ago, and the referees were clearly paid off against us, right? Because that penalty was not a penalty. If you jump in the air, I'll do a demonstration for the video listeners here, right? If you jump in the air towards the ball, your hands are going to be in the air. And yeah, apparently that's now a penalty if it hits your arm while you are jumping in an all-natural position. Thankfully, Mika's Arteta's, Gunners got the job done. 2-2 draw. We got screwed, but I'm fuming. But anyway, Clark, how was your day?
It's been excellent so far, and it's only better now. I'm excited to talk wrestling. We've got an awesome UFC fight that's active right now. Please be watching us because we're going to head straight over there after this and watch Alexander Volkanovski, the best pound mixed martial arts fighter on this planet, win the 155-pound title in enemy territory over in Abu Dhabi against Islam Makhachev. I can't wait for it. But before that, I'm even more excited to get into SmackDown last night. And we've got a return that even SmackDown couldn't put on the slate. A huge return. One of my favorite people on the panel, and I don't want to spoil it.
Well, you spoil everything, Clark, don't you? I'm surprised you've not spoiling the winner of that fake UFC fight tonight.
Well, it's gonna be Alexander Volkanovski, like I said before. But what I'm most excited about is the return of my good friend, maybe over you, Ben, my favorite person.
Boo.
You gonna do the announcement?
I thought you were gonna steal it. Okay, well, he's back. He's back from the film festival. David Sheldon, how are you today? And don't you dare bring up Liverpool winning.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be back. 18 days I've been gone. And I've had a very, very fun time at the film festival, seeing a lot of very good films, some rather bad ones as well. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Enjoyed doing my stuff. But I am now back chatting professional wrestling, and I'm very excited to get into SmackDown, a very up and down show with some good and some bad. We will get into both, and I'm very excited and very happy to be back in such esteemed company and the guy who's an Arsenal fan. Let's get at it.
Fuming is an understatement. Anyway, let's move on to something which was great on last night's episode of SmackDown, and that was the opening segment where Paul Heyman opened up SmackDown like he usually does, and then quickly came out, LA Knight, yeah! And, I mean, he got in the face of Paul Heyman, and the two had a brilliant promo segment. LA Knight murdered Paul Heyman on the mic. Obviously, Heyman was, wanting that to be the case. This segment was brilliant. It made LA Knight look like a real competition for Roman Reigns. It almost just installed a little bit in your mind, which, made you think, maybe, just maybe might, LA Knight do it? I mean, LA Knight said it best, I wasn't even sure when Roman Reigns' championship reign started, and nobody's risen as fast as me. Nobody. Roman Reigns didn't, get up the card as fast as I've gotten up the card. Roman Reigns has never faced anybody like me. And that is true. I'm excited for this match now. And we've often spoken about on this podcast how it's hard to build these feuds when Roman Reigns isn't in the arena, when Roman Reigns isn't on SmackDown. But last night, LA Knight and Paul Heyman showed how to do it. They did it tremendously. I really love this opening, segment on SmackDown. It's got 4.75 stars on the Wrestling Republic segment rating, and it was well deserved as well. Clark, give me your thoughts on the opening segment on Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah. I mean, LA Knight is on fire, and in my eyes, this segment was amazing. But moment of the night, I don't know if anyone caught it. I thought people might have. But when he looked at Paul Heyman and said, "Where's the lip?" and Heyman hit him with the lip quiver, oh, it was brilliant. Paul Heyman and LA Knight can cut promos against each other and on each other for the rest of time in my eyes. I'm not worried about it. This storyline is fun as could be because it's fresh, because LA Knight is a huge deal. People really love him. It's not just me. I thought it might have been just me at first, but it's not. Whose game is it? It's LA Knight's game, and he's making a push to really muddy the waters on this Bloodline storyline because it's hard to deny the momentum. And it's funny to me. You look on the other side of the coin over on Raw, and you've got Damian Priest carrying the briefcase in a situation where it doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense for Damian Priest to win a title. Man, hindsight is always 2020, but wouldn't it have been great to have a guy with this much momentum like LA Knight, with this ability, holding that briefcase ready to take down Seth Rollins and run with the world title? That's just the way I see it. But either way, I don't see him beating Roman Reigns, but I don't see the LA Knight train stopping anytime soon either.
So are you saying, Clark, that you think LA Knight should have won the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Absolutely, 100%. I think hindsight's 2020, especially now. Damian Priest is holding that briefcase, and I mean, they've already told the story about the infighting in Judgment Day on television in and of itself.
That's
they didn't
true.
need the briefcase to do it. They don't need the world title to do it. And I think that looks like a bit of a whiff in hindsight.
No, I mean,
LA Knight
I
was
still
the guy.
think Damian Priest holding it could lead to something interesting down the road. I do, but I do also agree, like I agreed kind of at the time, that LA Knight should have been that guy to win it. I said it then, and I will agree with you now. I mean, the only thing I will say is maybe him, not getting that opportunity made fans root for him a little bit more. The underdog. It's the same with Daniel Bryan when he lost when people thought he was going to win at the Rumble, just like LA Knight, everybody thought he was going to win Money in the Bank, and he didn't. It kind of gets fans behind them a bit more.
I think LA Knight's charisma is a different animal than Bryan Danielson's. Daniel Bryan, amazing performer, right? But two different animals in the ring. What we're looking at with LA Knight is pure fun.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson had to earn that level of respect from the fans, and he had both. While he's very charismatic, right, and character-wise, he's amazing in the ring, and the fans got fully behind him for that. And I'm not saying LA Knight's bad in the ring, just it's two different scenarios in my head because I feel like LA Knight's gotten here. LA Knight doesn't have to wrestle
Yeah.
to do that type of stuff. Bryan Danielson did. Daniel Bryan did.
I think
in some ways.
I don't know.
I think he did have to wrestle in some ways. Now losing to Roman Reigns is fine. I don't think it will hurt him in the long run or anything like that. But there are just a lot of, in my eyes, opportunities with a guy that is this over. This is organic. It's built from the ground. It's something that it's a long time coming in a weird way for a guy that talented, but he's really put it all together. And
no, absolutely. No, I absolutely do agree, Clark.
Important to note. Sorry, Carter called me, by the way, there just then.
That's outrageous from Carter.
I know.
He knows one, eh?
He's on
what would his cousin
should I take it on air?
Carnett.
You want me to take it on air?
Take it on air. Take it on air.
Hang on. Let's call him. Well, it just ended, but I'll call him back on air. Hang on.
This is outrageous.
Hey,
he has a week off.
Great broadcast.
Do you have anything to say to Ben?
Yeah, he has a week off, and he thinks he can call us during the show.
16 stars doesn't matter if it's Arena, Mexico, or Tokyo Dome.
He said Mystico 16 stars, 18 stars. Cardi Cornett. It's actually Cardi Cornett that I got.
Oh, Cardi Cornett has given 16 stars to a Mystico versus Rocky Romero from last night's AEW Rampage.
No worries. We'll see you soon to watch the fights, and you enjoy that. I'm on air, though, so I'm going to let you go. All right. No worries. No, that was Cornett, but I will see you soon, man. Have a good one. All right.
Anyway, David, let's hope you're not interrupted by any phone calls. What did you think about the opening segment on SmackDown?
Oh, hang on. I just had to take a phone call. Hang on. Hello. Oh, it's from the King of Wrestling. He said, "Yeah, I'll tell him. Yeah, I'll tell him. This was good." In seriousness though, I there's one point I want to make. A joke aside, there is one point I want to make. I want to give Heyman his props for this segment because I think Paul Heyman. It's very easy to look at LA. Paul Heyman made LA Knight look even better in this because he played the punching bag. Heyman doesn't always play a punching bag. He doesn't play a punching bag often. He does, but it's not to this extent. He got bullied significantly by LA Knight, and it was awesome because what Heyman's doing, Heyman can take it. You don't want to do this to another wrestler. That was sometimes where The Rock fell down. Was sometimes he would eviscerate people so badly that they never recovered from it. Sorry, Billy Gunn. So, having Heyman, who's the kind of the lackey, the stooge, to take that, he's so good at it. He's such a good talker, even to see him emasculated in that sense was fantastic. LA Knight's brilliant, but just wanted to give my props to Heyman because I think Heyman is a master. And I do think he is the best talker he is the best manager in professional wrestling today, and possibly he's in the conversation for all time. And this is the reason why he knows exactly when to play it, how to play it, and it was a brilliant segment. And I'm really excited for this match, even though LA Knight is not winning.
No, I could not agree more. I mean, Paul Heyman, he really put LA Knight over in that segment. Props to both him and LA Knight, like I said, for making a segment like that work. A segment which advances a storyline so much when one of the wrestlers in the storyline isn't even on the show in Roman Reigns. But now let's move on to two wrestlers who were on the show, and that was, not only were they on the show, they also showed up and put on a great match as Montez Ford took on "Just sold my car to Santos Escobar," as we chanted at Money in the Bank, Santos Escobar, and that was the best chant of the night during that show. But Montez Ford and Santos Escobar put on, I think I enjoyed this match a lot more than most people did. I absolutely loved it. Montez Ford, of course, got the win. The Street Business, or whatever you want to call them, they're starting to, build back some momentum now, because of course they lost at Fastlane in a match which, a lot of people, including myself, were not happy that they lost. But, this was a good match. Montez Ford got the victory, and hopefully from here, the Street Business, hopefully their stock will only go up. But Clark, what were your thoughts on this singles match?
I enjoyed this match. I think Montez Ford is so talented. It's hard to quantify. Like, he's he's underrated somehow, and has been successful within the Street Profits for years. But I see him, he's like a young Will Smith, and that's pre-Oscars controversy. I'm talking. I mean, the guy has everything. Mic work. He's just a freak talent, and I found it a little odd, the loss, like you mentioned earlier, Ben. This was more like it. Now we're talking. Even the promo segments leading into this, hitting the bag, taking it seriously, being more intense. I didn't mind in the least. Tell me a story, and I'll listen. And it's starting to feel like that, and I'm starting to get it, and I'm starting to like it. We can't have any more throwaway losses, though. Not for this intense Street Profits, especially a team that is so historically backed up by their own record, right? They were amazing as the guys were the red cups, the party guys. They held and carried the titles. With more intensity, they should not be losing more often. And we do not need to do that anymore. That needs to stop. Other than that, I'm very cool with the direction at this point, and I really enjoyed the match and attack after the match last night as well.
It really was, it was one of those really fun matches, and let's hope from here the street business improves, goes up, their stocks increase, and it should be a good one. But let's just hope that is the case, and let's hope this isn't just another. Let's hope they just don't lose next week.
50-50
because that's what I
booking
fear.
is the one thing that I think could really kill this. That just scares me to death.
And that's what hurt business as well in the long run as
Yes.
well, that 50-50 booking. And then they split them up, which also was what really killed them.
Well,
But
that killed them.
literally, it killed the faction.
Yeah.
But now let's move on to a person who's killed a lot of careers in John Cena. I'm only joking, I love John Cena. but John Cena came out last night and he revealed that he hasn't won a televised match in 2,000 days since 2018, and that did actually really shock me. I mean, obviously, John Cena, despite the joke I just made, I'm a huge John Cena guy. I always have been, even as a kid. I was one of the ones chanting, "Let's go Cena," not "Cena sucks." But, I mean, it does show over the last couple of years how he has, elevated talent. But he also needs, a win, because otherwise, well, he doesn't really, feel special at all, does he? But he said that, the next person who comes out, I'll face, right? He said he contemplated retirement, but nope, that wasn't what he wanted to do. He wanted to get back on top in WWE, and then out came Solo Sikoa, a match which made my mouth water, as this is just something that I want to see. It really is. It really would elevate Solo Sikoa as well. Maybe it wouldn't really fix the 2,000 days without a win problem for John Cena, because I think Solo should win that, but still, I'd be more than down to see this. But then out of nowhere, Jimmy Uso came in and took out John Cena before Jey Uso, HUD, made the save. Later on, Nick Aldis was not too happy about this and said, Jay, you're not on this show. You're on Monday Night Raw. You shouldn't be here, so you and Adam Pearce can go home to Raw. Get out. They never want to see you here again. Adam Pearce said, let the games begin. War Games reference. Ooh, I would like to see that Raw vs SmackDown War Games. Count me in for that one. But really, I was just annoyed that Nick Aldis, was more focused on this than Pretty Deadly being illegally, might I add, assaulted by the Brawling Brutes. I think it's outrageous. But the segment itself, I thought was, fun or whatever. But John Cena keeps promising matches and just not giving us matches. David Sheldon, what is your thoughts on this segment?
I hated this so much. Now, please recognize, I love John Cena. I love that he's back. But I do not understand why I'm supposed to feel sympathy that John Cena's not won a match in 2,000 days when he's won nearly every single tag match he's been booked in since then, including at this year with the LA Knight match. He won that. He won that match, and he's only had 3 singles matches. The last match he won was Triple H, believe it or not, in 2018. Since then, he's lost to The Fiend. Then he lost to Roman Reigns. Then he lost to Austin Theory. You want to start winning again, John? Book more matches. Don't be going away making the Vacation Friends film. Or what was it? What was the other one? Hidden Strike with Jackie Chan. All rubbish, by the way.
Yes.
Like I don't understand why I was meant to feel anything in this segment for John, for the retirement thing. I don't get it, because what I want to know is, what was it that made John Cena, after winning the last pay-per-view match he had, decide he just sat, like I said, watching Vacation Friends 2, a film that's available in all good homes to anyone who hates themselves, watching that film and thinking to myself, no, I haven't really won since 2018. Yeah, no, I might retire. Let me go and tell the fans that, and then all go, oh, I hated it. I hated it so much, and I don't know why, because this was such a throwaway segment. John Cena's done so many fake retirements. Remember the Nexus one when he got kicked, when he had to retire because of the Nexus, and he did like a whole 20-minute speech and then was back the next week. Like, this is the John Cena I don't like, because I just find it really like self-aggrandizing and irritating. And I love John. Don't get me wrong, I love John Cena, but just the way he was worded in this, I thought it made him look like just an absolute moron. And
Goober.
Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I probably am. It's just for some reason, it was this segment on this show that made me really annoyed, and I have no idea why. Maybe it's that.
That's one of the best rants we've viewed on this show in ages.
On the new powder blue aesthetic. That's something I'm really curious about, David.
I don't care.
Same. I feel like it's like they're running out of colors. He's got to go pink.
I should say, I've liked John Cena's run. Don't get me wrong. I think he's doing great stuff since he's come back. But it's very transparent. He's only come back because the SAG strikes are on.
Shirts that are so long.
Let me finish my point, Clark. I don't care about his blue t-shirts.
Shard got annoyed with him for this exact same thing on the show yesterday, David.
Sorry, I've been having a hot
No,
week,
it's just, David. Like I said, I love what it's done. I just don't come out and do this whole, I'm going. If John Cena had lost a match, if he'd have faced Solo and lost and then done the promo, fine. If he'd have faced Jimmy and lost, then fine. That the segment makes sense. It just doesn't make sense why this week, if you want to win matches, John Cena, you have to wrestle them.
That's a good point.
I can sit here and cry on the podcast and say I haven't won a wrestling match in my entire life, but I've never had one. So until I have one,
I hear you.
I can't say that I've won one.
As the guy that's balding, I have one more question for you, David. Do you think if his hair was more like in his prime, it would have been more acceptable?
No.
Okay.
No.
We got Bailey in the comments who's not happy with you, David, because he's saying Vacation Friends was great. Let's not lie.
Said by someone who I guarantee hasn't seen Vacation Friends. Because I have. I've seen it and I hate it. Sorry, Bailey. I'm sure you enjoyed the film, my friend. I think
we've got to do a watch along for this now. Vacation Friends watch along.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I saw the movie.
There may be things in the pipeline with me in wrestling films with wrestlers. And wrestling films.
I watched it on an airplane, and it is. David is so spot on about his assessment of Vacation Friends. It is putrid. It is.
Sorry, we've eaten into the next segment. We've run into John Cena's films. I do apologize. I like him in film
podcast, but while we're hot, I'm just saying, David, it is not good. It is not a good film.
No, it's not.
Well, talking about things that are not good, let's quickly talk about Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis. Of course, last week we saw that embarrassment of a boxing fight, and at the end of it,
I didn't.
Logan Paul,
so much money saved. So much money saved by just not watching
we
it.
illegally streamed
It's great how that stuff works.
Don't worry about it. We didn't pay for it either.
I'm not. I deny such claims. Anyway, let's move on. Mysterio, Logan Paul. Logan Paul called out Rey Mysterio after defeating Dylan Dennis in, I guess you could call it a boxing match. It wasn't one, but you know, okay, sure, let's have guillotines in boxing now. But anyway, Mysterio and Logan Paul had a face-to-face on SmackDown. Logan Paul came out, brought up Dylan Dennis a few times, a few, cheap, typical, heel remarks about Dylan Dennis. I thought this was fine. I thought it was Logan doing, okay heel work, nothing special, but fine. I think to be honest with you, it's better than quite a few people on the roster would do if you gave them, a mic like this. But it was once Mysterio came out that I had a bit of an issue with this, because Logan Paul was just insulting him. Mysterio was like, well, the last person who insulted me, about being a father, I beat him, and I was happy about it, even though I didn't think I'd be happy about it. Whatever that means. Rey Mysterio then gave him a championship shot, and Logan Paul was like, okay, cool, thank you. I was like, what? What? So, the segment started fine. I think people are being a bit harsh on Logan for it, to be honest. But I think it's the bucking of how it ended was just lame. Clark, give me your take on this Logan Paul Rey Mysterio segment.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm 32. I should be the prime age for the anti-Logan crew, right? And I've come around on the fact that he's an absolute natural on the microphone. And so he took, a hamburger and maybe added a little hamburger helper and made something that wasn't that great from a booking perspective okay. Right? It was fine. I had an issue with, look, he was the baby face in the Dylan Dennis thing. If you're on that side, if that's something that you also watch, if you watch combat sports across the board, if you watch boxing, if you watch the celebrity boxing stuff, it is pretty clear that Logan was the baby face against Dylan Dennis. If you're rooting for Dylan Dennis, I get it, but you probably root for the villains in pro wrestling as well, right? You were a Joker fan over Batman and The Dark Knight, right? Like, logically speaking, Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis was just an odd deal, and to lean into that so much in the initial half of the promo, I thought he navigated it well, but he's the clear heel against Mysterio. And that's what was so odd about this segment, like you mentioned, Ben, the ending of it. It felt like you had Logan coming off of this Dylan Dennis thing, like, I'm now more of a public baby face, but playing a heel role on WWE TV, and it was just convoluted. And that's where I kind of got lost in it. I didn't hate it because I do believe that he's super talented. And this is no knock on Rey Mysterio, but I'm more excited to see what Sting does between now and his retirement than I am to see the next match that Rey wrestles. And I was a huge Rey fan as a kid. I've always been a huge Rey fan. But acting like he's out here putting on outstanding bell-to-bell matches is you're joking with yourself. And I don't know if he's the guy to wrestle Logan Paul next by comparison to the rest of the roster.
I hope he shocks you. I really do, Clark, because I think, I'm going to be honest, I think you're being way too harsh on Rey Mysterio. I actually do. And I hope we're going to have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait till Crown Jewel to see. But I think he's going to shock you because he's had a few, solid matches. And to say, I'm a Sting fan, right? But to say that he's... I know you kind of changed it because obviously Sting's about to retire, so that's an element of it. But Rey Mysterio's, come on, he's way more... He's still got more in the ring than Sting has. Come on. But barely. The one thing... No,
he's a foot shorter. He's a foot shorter.
And he's always been a foot shorter.
And it changes everything, right? I mean, the old suicide dive is now a dive. It's a slide out of under the bottom rope.
I'll say this nicely, Clark, as a huge Sting fan, as somebody who, I'm also really fascinated to see what Sting does between now and Revolution. The man's retiring for a reason.
Oh yeah.
I think he's for what he's done at his age with the amount of injuries that he's had is remarkable. But I think Rey is still on another level. And
See,
Yes.
I love Ray as much as the next guy. I think it's time for Ray to hang them up as well.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do disagree with you on that. The only other thing I will say about this is, I understand your point. Logan Paul was clearly the baby face against Dylan Danis, right? You heard that from the crowd reaction in London, right? But here's the thing. If he came back and he acted like a face, he would have been booed anyway. Like, let's be real
No,
about
I
it.
agree. And that I wanted him to come back and almost act like Danis was the heel. Lean into it further. It's pro wrestling. It's almost a different world, right? So
Yeah.
I would prefer, if he comes back, to go full heel. Do not mention even that he was the face against Danis.
Yeah.
Just that he won. Just
Okay,
focus
fair.
on the
Okay, I get
fact
that.
that
I
you
get that,
won.
yeah.
But drop because it throws you, especially if you're a crossover fan of both. And that's where I felt like there's just a slight disconnect.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that point. And your best friends in the chat, Anthony Manzano. Welcome, Anthony,
What's going
to the
on?
show here. But now let's move on and let's talk about A-Town Down Under, because A-Town Down Under, the tag team of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, teamed up to face the tag team, which I like to call Lee and Lee. Of course, Dragon Lee teaming up with the artist formerly known as Trevor Lee, now known as Cameron Grimes. And this match, it was a fun match. It was fine. A-Town Down Under, of course, got the victory in the end. I don't think anybody was, was worried about that. I mean, the biggest takeaway I kind of had from this match was the reaction that Cameron Grimes got. And I'm like, how did you guys mess this up? Like, seriously, he's got so much talent. I've said it time and time again. But he does. How have you messed it up? You've not put him on TV, and now nobody cares about him. You need to rebuild him. And you should put the time into rebuilding him, because he's a star, and obviously Dragon Lee is too. Dragon Lee was getting a good reaction in this match. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know where they're going from here, but Dragon Lee at least getting some, more airtime on SmackDown once again. He's getting more and more over. David, what are your thoughts on Dragon Lee since he's joined the main roster? And of course, A-Town Down Under versus Lee and Lee.
Well, I'll start with the match itself. It was all right. It was nothing really. I mean, I had exactly the same thought as you, Ben, which is just, what have they done to Cameron Grimes? And not in terms of his presentation. I think it's just nobody cares, and it's such a shame because Grimes is excellent, so good, and it does just feel like he's just another filler placeholder, and it's a real shame because he's really good. I think Dragon Lee. I don't really see why Dragon Lee needs to be in this. Why we have to have this, because Dragon Lee's just come up and he's got a fair bit of momentum behind him. I don't really see what this match did for Dragon Lee. I think that, having him lose and not really play a factor in the finish, you kind of just dumped out. It's just a bit underwhelming. That's not to say I think he's been booked badly since he's come up. I think he's been booked fairly fine. But they've done a good job with Dragon Lee of making him feel big, and that's why the reactions for him have been strong. But just it didn't do a lot for me. It wasn't terrible. It was just, Waller and Theory I like, but they haven't really inspired me very much the last few weeks. They're good. They're both good guys, workers on their own. I think Waller's doing more for Theory than Theory's doing for Waller. But I think, it's just, this match was the definition to me of just put something on TV. It's nice to see Dragon Lee. Always nice to see Dragon Lee. It was fine.
You know what this smells of? 50-50 booking. But it really does. Anthony Manzano, a bit of a unique take here. Cameron Grimes reminds me a little bit of Jeff Jarrett.
You'd have to be going over a lot more often.
That's true. That's true, and a guitar involved as well.
Yeah. I haven't seen. I can't remember if it was on Rampage or Collision. I'm pretty certain it was on No, it's on Collision. It's on Collision tonight. We've got Jeff Jarrett's facing somebody. I can't remember who he's. I think it's Jeff Jarrett versus Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
And if Jeff Jarrett wins, then Jay Lethal gets a match against Eddie Kingston.
With the
title on the line.
If
so stupid.
How does that work?
If Jeff Jarrett wins,
Yeah. Just imagine this, right? As an example, let's say we did a weekly quiz, right? We did a Wrestling Republic quiz, and the winner got £100,
Yeah.
right? And not that we could afford that, but if we could, and I won that quiz and took
When
the
we
100.
can.
So if I won the quiz and Drizzy got the £100, why? Oh, in what world does that booking make sense?
Well, it makes sense for one reason. That's the last time we did Take It to the Table when me, you, and Drizzy were playing together trying to guess those video games. Drizzy saved us about twice, so that's why it would make sense.
Yes, he did.
But we got WWE 26 in the comments. Hello, welcome to the show. But yeah, oh gosh, let's move on to the main event, should we, lads? Main event time: Charlotte Flair, Io Sky, Women's Championship, and Io Sky got the victory. Fun main event. I would have liked it to get a little bit more time, but it's whatever. At the end of the day, I'm really glad Io Sky retained her Women's Championship. She deserves a longer reign with it. It's really elevated her, this championship reign. I know Clark thinks otherwise, but I really do think that is the case. But of course, Io Sky won because of the distraction from Bayley, like I said, was going to happen. And then Io Sky hit Charlotte Flair with the title belt. The commentators didn't even see it. That was like, well, it was hidden. Which I actually didn't mind because, like, most times when they do a title belt, angle, it's so obvious. Where this one actually wasn't obvious, that the commentators didn't even see it. So I actually did like that, to be honest with you. But then it was more after the match, the headline stuff, because Bianca Belair returned and made the save and hit the KOD on Bayley. This was very fun. I enjoyed this main event match. David, your thoughts on this and Io Sky retaining the Women's Championship?
See, weirdly, I don't have a ton to say on this match, and that's no indictment of the match's quality. I thought it was a very good match, a very good main event match. I liked a lot of the sequences towards the end. I like that this got time. It was the main event of the show. Felt like the main event of the show. Was given the time to the respect to be the main event of the show. I don't. Like, this is kind of what I expected to happen. I mean, aside from maybe Bianca, but like I expected that Bayley would cause a distraction probably, and Io would retain. I just didn't see it going back to Charlotte. Maybe I just willed it because I didn't want to see it go back to Charlotte. But yeah, I thought this was a really good main event. Nice to see Bianca back. It was a, like, I think the booking of this division has been stale, but I also think that the talent involved will make up for it, and I do think that they did in this match. I very much enjoyed it, and the only kind of major strange thing that happened in this match, I'd say, is that they started the match. Io immediately rolled to the outside, and we went straight to a commercial break.
Yeah,
why not just put the break before the match? What, like, it's weird pacing. But that's a minor nitpick. It's just because I pay attention to these things. Really good match. Not a lot to say, but I did enjoy it, and I think it's another good retention for Io Sky.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's two reasons why. I can actually tell you why they did it. The reason that they do it is that people are more likely to not turn off if it's in the middle of a match, and also it's better for advertisers because they know that people are already there. Like, if you know that a match hasn't started yet, you might go to the toilet quickly or something. Whereas if it's in the middle of the match, you're likely already sitting down to watch it, and that is why.
A couple of moves though. Give it a couple of moves before you.
No,
go to break.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
Out the ring, commercial break. Put a barricade spot, and I don't know how much Clark loves a barricade spot.
We've got. Oh no, let's not get back to the barricade argument again. But we got Benny Boy is him in the comments. Hello, Ben. Welcome to the show. Good thing that I'm no longer just the only Ben around here. And WWE_26 is saying that they love the fact that women are getting more TV time in WWE right now. I couldn't agree more. But Clark, what did you think about your least favorite faction in WWE getting a win here, technically?
I hate to do this to myself, but I may have been wrong. I thought Charlotte Bayley was the move. The move's Fatal 4-Way. What are we talking about here? This is right in front of us now. You got Bayley involved. You got Bianca involved. You got Io Sky involved. You still bring back the Charlotte Flair factor. Charlotte Flair factor. That is a tongue twister. But Yeah, no, you bring back the queen, but it's really about Belair's return, Bianca's return, and Bailey's return as well. In that fatal 4-way is where you tell this story amongst Damage Control. You finally pay it off, and I will eat my own words about it doing nothing for anybody if they pay off the Damage Control storyline properly between Io and Bailey in that fatal 4-way. I will have no issue with it. I'm cool with that. I don't still believe that it's elevated Io Sky. That's just not something that I see as something that's happened. She won the title. The title hasn't felt super relevant since Mania. Both women's titles in the WWE. It's interesting. We've done a lot of complaining over the summer about the AEW women's division. Both women's titles in the WWE have not been defended regularly outside of Io pseudo regularly defending it compared to Rhea Ripley, who apparently just owns the belt and doesn't wrestle.
That's true.
But comparatively speaking, Io has defended it more. This is something though that we can use to re-elevate Bailey, to truly elevate Io in a valiant loss, and have Io come out of it as a babyface, the goddess of the sky, and be able to wrestle on that card on SmackDown elsewhere on the way back to a championship opportunity. I think that's the way we go about this. I think it's smart to go about it that way too. The key to me, and I've repeated Bailey's name 50 times in this entire segment, but I can't say it enough. Bailey is not only underrated, it's not even close. It's unfair. Please give us Bailey back fully in the main event picture in every way, shape, and form, and the full Bailey character on television week in and week out, because Bailey is that dang good, and it's bugged me for too long.
I'm gonna have to say this, right? I very much disagree with what you first said there, right? When Io Shirai was in NXT, right? Let's be honest. I think you were wearing, when you said that, your hardcore fan tinted glasses. Most of the main roster audience, most people who know her now, didn't know her a year ago, right? A year ago, she returned. She joined Damage Control. Bailey, you said Bailey is a star, undoubtedly. By being associated with Bailey, so many people saw Io Sky for the first time, right? There's a reason why people started calling her Io Sky really quickly instead of keeping Io Shirai, which she went for like a decade before that. It's because her she grew massively straight away. Her social media following's up massively, and I know it's not just about social media following, but she's now on all the posters, she's on all of this. To say that Damage Control hasn't elevated her, right? You can make that argument maybe about Dakota Kai, but Io's, come on, she's known by so many people.
You have 3 people. Who's the leader of the group? It doesn't make sense. Why is our women's
Bailey's
champion
the leader.
a lackey?
Could we make the same argument?
Why is our
then?
women's champion on SmackDown a lackey?
Could we not make? I to some extent, I don't entirely disagree with you on that, but I will say, if the thing of who's the leader of the group, Dominic Mysterio is not the leader of Judgment Day.
No,
he hates Judgment Day, in fairness, too. But he's consistent with that one.
I think they're both bad.
I just want to say, can I just bring up something that you said, Clark, about the WWE and AEW women's divisions? And I just think it's interesting to look at the two, because neither have been booked very well. The difference I think is WWE have booked a very stale and boring women's division in terms of storylines. AEW haven't booked storylines at all.
Yeah,
that's a great point. No, David, I would agree with that 100%.
And I say this as the AEW reviewer, somebody who loves AEW. I like WWE have I haven't especially cared about what WWE have done with its women's division the last 2 months. But at least I can look at Rhea Ripley and say those are her rivals, those are people she's feuding with, those are the people she's friendly with, etc. Same with Io. In AEW, you haven't got a clue. Yeah. The only person in AEW of any interest at all on the women's side at the moment, actually there's 3, I'd say, and it's Toni Storm, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue.
Tony Storm.
And I
No, and Clark's going to go on a rant about Britt Baker now. I can see it. But we're not going to do that, Clark.
DMD.
I do agree with you, though, David.
Right
I
now,
completely
right
and utterly
now,
agree
I
with
mean-
you. I do. I really do agree
I
with
actually
you on
do,
that.
and I'm
I
not
think you
gonna
summed
go
it up
on the
perfectly,
DMD rant.
but we are going to have to wrap up. Before we hear the DMD rant, but thank you guys so much for, tuning in today with us. Thank you to Clark, thank you to David for joining me here. It's been a banger. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please leave us a cheeky 5 stars. We'll be back here half an hour later tomorrow. So normal time, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, to review AEW Collision. But if you're watching UFC, enjoy UFC. If you're watching AEW later, enjoy AEW. If you're watching Impact, enjoy Bound for Glory. But thank you guys so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your night. See you.